Arena Universe Citizen presents New Era Religion, Episode 65, Part 1, June 14, 2022. The newest paradigm's model of cosmic origins. Recently, we have been synergetically informed that knowledge organizes itself geometrically with models. The models are polyhedral geometries with topological characteristics that are described by lines, areas, crossings, where the lines cross. The lines are also known as vectors and edges. The crossings are corners, also known as vertexes. And the areas are triangles, also known as faces and empty windows or openings. 6 vectors, 4 vertexes, and 4 triangular openings describe the topology of the tetrahedron universe's minimum structural system. The tetrahedron is one of universe's 3 possible omnisymmetrical prime structural systems. The 6-fold interrelationship is conceptual. The conceptuality is metaphysical. Weightless pattern integrity. The conceptuality of observed events is independent of size, where it is size alone that can come to zero, not the conceptuality. Our 21st century humanity knows little about the tetrahedron and our metaphysical capabilities. A tetrahedron is one of the 3 prime structural systems. Yet only the tetrahedron's 4 vertexes are diametrically opposite of its 4 triangular windows. The openings or windows are non-vertexes. Awareness of this topology also informs intellect of the tetrahedron's inside outing, one of the 6 motion freedoms, as the 4 vertexes alternately plunge passage through the opposite openings. Imaginably, this is as the vertex converging through the center of volume, or maybe the center of gravity, as a pulsating action, while never losing the tetrahedral symmetry. 4 visible vertexes and 4 non-visible non-vertexes, which are the 4 triangular symmetrical openings that provide our conceptual and reasoning faculty of thought and language, a conceptual model to read and write about, extrapolating the energetic, synergetic, metaphysical, generalized conception, wherever environmental transformations and intertransforming coincide with the universal communications process, and learning more about the most economical way of behaving relative to unity and self in universe. Synergetics 905.23. Our 21st century humanity's know-how capabilities are metaphysical. And so, it is heartening to learn there are differences that we may never have thought about before, in respect to the inherent synergetic metaphysical propensities and all that is energetically physical to realize. The synergy is metaphysical. Energy is physical. Both of these phenomena are of nature and of universe's eternal omniscient mind, essential to our accumulated knowledge, the knowledge that organizes itself geometrically, coexisting thus by design. The synergetic geometric models to which our consciousness evolution systemic thought cogently refers is decidedly different from when we had absolutely no way to correlate thought and action, thought and language with metaphysical patterns in mind. Yet explorations in the geometry of thinking continue to reveal more about these phenomena. Once informed of universe as metaphysical and physical, we can begin to acknowledge this cosmic awareness, albeit in the most rudimentary understanding. No matter how inessential the synergetic metaphysical may seem to be, we can correct any misassumption by learning that conceptuality is metaphysical, differentiating it from physical brain sense phenomena. By design, The metaphysical are integral to differentiating and integrating essential acquired knowledge of universe. Besides, only the physical is alterable. The metaphysical is unalterable. Metaphysical patterns are synergetic. The physical energetic are measurable quantities. Conceptually and technically, our intelligent evolution species cannot exist without the essential knowledge that not only organizes itself geometrically, it also supports life on our planet. To know this life support consists of both the metaphysical and the physical permits us consciously to coordinate thought and language applicably with the individual economic initiatives, anticipatory design, science, intention to manifest a true democracy. It cannot be done while omitting omnisynergetic universe by the PRJWBCS defaults. As politics, religion, justice, war, belief, complex schemes. Those inherited settings are detrimental and tend to perpetuate fear engendering as the divisive power of authority denies the essential states of mind that are integrals of stability without need to delude intellect's relevant nomenclature and awareness of the always and only coexisting complementarities that physicists have found to be environmentally operative throughout the transformation process. It would be similar to eliminating 3 for triangle, when the trigonometric data for the basic disequilibrium lowest common denominator illustrates this triangle. It also includes the data for the entire sphere. Awareness of it goes beyond all the geodesic dome calculations to include anticipating applications of the trigonometrical validation of the conceptuality of a true democracy, Synergetics 900 modelability, and Google's search. Dividing to conquer the human mind continues to be the case as it has been throughout history wherever profit motivations exploit the value of doing harm. Such motivations are predominantly physical objectives that suppress metaphysical intellect, supplanting this conscious mind with subconscious, ignorantly fearful cautionaries. As we can read in Synergetics 923.04, there are 2 classes of redundant acts. 1, conscious, knowledgeably competent. 2, subconscious, ignorantly fearful cautionaries. Obviously, as we read and write to conceptually comprehend human events and our experience throughout a lifetime, our individual metaphysical intellect as a function of universe requires a mind's intuitively discovering what for millennium suppressed the knowledge closely associated with our metaphysical propensities, rendering us as relatively mindless entities to be subjects of the slave mentality conditioning by the controlling mastermind. Consequent to such conditioning, our energy is exploitable but isolated from awareness of synergy. And yet synergy and energy is one of the always and only coexisting complementarities we are recently learning to accredit to our local problem-solving economic initiatives. Multi-level exploitations employ every defensive mechanism to satisfy our survival necessities that when controlled by corporate power, it pays out in dividends as additional compensation, rewarding humans for their part in the scheme, virtually and technically cooperating with the self-other deception. Awareness of this catch-22 situation is further motivated as legitimized law. All laws fall under the J factor of the PRJWBCS. This is so, even when laws are innovations by religion, the R factor. As of the second decade of the 21st century, both the J factor and the R factor omit by default slave mentality conditioning. Metaphysical intellects know what of pure science and the know-how of applied science. As an inherited detrimental result, we deceive us by omission, omitting the one kind of life support on planet Earth that is metaphysical. The word metaphysical is not understood by most of us. For millenniums, this integral conceptioning that is of the generalized cosmic event feels complementary patterns has been maligned or not accurately spoken of at all. The maligning of the metaphysical mistakenly categorized it as a superstitious power, an insulting, misguiding spirit of the occult realms to be avoided by the belief schemer's subtle controls. When the PRJ factors interact, the outcomes tend to increase the tolerance magnitudes of the residual inaccuracies of the reenacting articulations. Ritualistic, inculcated behavior resets the delusion as directed by the usurpers of history that get us no closer to demonstrating our inherent integral capability to reintegrate and restore timeless zero-phase unity. How can we reintegrate unity that was not integrated to begin with? Timeless is eternal, as eternality is absent of time. This means to say that the synergetic metaphysical is purely conceptual, independent of time, size, frequency. It also indicates a wholly WHOLLY pristine metaphysical environment for metaphysical intellects, predominantly metaphysical objectives, as knowledge organizes itself geometrically. Knowing that synergetics, vector, geometry, models are conceptual, independent of size, time, space, sizing, we make an ingress into the womb of total human consciousness, leaving the womb of permitted ignorance. The vectors of vectorial geometry are always partial generalizations, being theoretically metaphysical and realized physically. And as each vector's mass times its velocity equals zero, it follows that consciousness evolution's timeless zero-phase unity is relative to a human mind's metaphysical cogitations in respect to equilibrium. Mistakenly, the R factor, by adhering to its unchanging rites and rituals, convince human populations in realms of such authority to trust the self-ordained womb of its permitted ignorance that has been in existence from the cradle of civilization. This is why humans with such misdirection abhor essential change. Change is defined by Webster's Collegiate Dictionary 11th edition as transform, alter, not the alter, A-L-T-A-R, to give a different position, course, or direction to. Transformation and intertransformation are natural environmental evolution functions. Metaphysical evolution tends to decelerate, simplify, consolidate, and unify. This generalized conceptioning is metaphysical. Physical evolution tends to accelerate, differentiate, and multiply. As our synergetic awareness anticipates manifesting a true democracy, the anticipatory design science of this contextual parameter is predominantly metaphysical objective, also is consciously recognizing that the design is intellectually deliberate. Synergetic 792.01. Logically, a true democracy, omni-rational component behaviors are environmentally interaccommodative. The eternal cosmic design is not random, as are seemingly uncontrollable events in the underway human condition. The difference is in terms of generalized law and the J factors laws as well as the R factors laws. Evolution awareness of this differentiation and potential integration is referential to the tetrahedron's complex of 6 energy events, 3 of which are tensive and 3 of which are compressive. Tension and compression is one of the always and only coexisting complementarities. Essential awareness of what may produce stabilized patterns is also an integral necessity of a true democracy, self-regenerative stability and balance. Recalling here that experience always comes before thinking, but not having to factor in accumulations of redundant action. Instead, generalized law is relevant to the design science of a true democracy's non-redundance. Everything we sense is physical, time, space, sizing, and is brain-sensed phenomenal. To be continued in Part 2, Episode 66.